Shavua Tov, 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 Shavua Tov. A good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase. And that feels like a very especially pertinent prayer after the week that we've just had, and may it be so. Amen. Thank you very much. It's good to be with everyone.
Thank you. So tonight we have the last of our series for at least the time being. It could be the last of our series, period, unless someone steps up and volunteers to do a presentation. But we'll worry about that later. So we have mother and daughter presentation tonight. Gloria Plevin's going to start us off with a presentation of her artwork. And when she's done, I'll introduce her and give a little introduction to Mimi. Then she can do her presentation of poetry. So the one thing I want to do is I'll read you the brief description of Gloria's work tonight. And what she will be doing is talking about 6 portraits from my bifurcated life. And each of the 6 portraits will highlight a person or group of people that she cares about in a setting that has deep meaning in her life. An artist and essayist, Gloria's paintings and prints can be found in major museums, including the Cleveland Museum of Art and numerous other public and private collections. Her vivid acrylics, watercolors, pastels, prints, and drawings grow from her desire to advance art's power to capture and celebrate the life around us. For 18 years, she owned and directed the Gloria Plevin Gallery in Chautauqua, New York, which showcased Cleveland and Chautauqua area artists and was listed as a must-see in the 100 best small art towns in America. Informed by artists as diverse as Cassatt, Pierre Bonnard, and Japanese printmakers, Gloria's favorite subjects have been landscapes of Chautauqua County, botanicals, still lifes, home and family, pets and friends. As Gloria explained in a YouTube video, it's a beautiful world. It deserves to be painted. Her book, Gloria Plevin, Art and Essays, can be found at Loganberry Books and the Cleveland Museum of Art and on Amazon. So Gloria has asked that we hold any questions or comments until she's finished with her presentation. And then, she can, if you have a question about a particular one, it's easy enough with only 6 for her to scroll back and we can take a look at it then. So with that, Gloria, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead and start talking.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm so happy to see you all here. Tonight, I'm going to show and discuss 6 portraits. Each one is a painting of a friend or family member I care deeply about in a setting that has great meaning for me. I've called this talk 6 Portraits from My Bifurcated Life because for almost 50 years, I divided each year between summer in Chautauqua, New York, and school years in Shaker Heights or Cleveland. I love the beauty all around me in Chautauqua, and the time and inspiration to paint that summers in Chautauqua gave me, especially while raising 4 children, a little more time.
Okay, so give me 1 second to start the screen share of the artwork. It's just going to take me a moment, please, to get it going. I have to get to it. Is it full screen? I need some more. Yeah, go for it. All right, here it is. All righty.
I have a little trouble with my voice. Mimi is going to become the reader every now and then.
All right, here we go.
No, that's wrong.
Oh, sorry.
That's the end.
Yeah, I have to go back. Hold on. All right, you're getting a sneak preview of the whole show, but
Here we
there we go. Go for it.
Let me hold on because I'm not, if you're.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't screen share it properly. I'm so sorry. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Okay, you guys, sorry about that. I'm learning. Gosh.
Is this the right one?
No, it's all correct. It's just maneuvering around your computer is a little confusing, but now I'll hit screen share and
Do I have to share my screen too? Do I have to click on that too?
You don't have to do anything.
okay, here it is. Here it is. Okay, and I'm trying to, let's see, I guess I could just say share the desktop. And
Yeah.
hopefully now, can you see?
Oh, yes, beautiful.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, all right, sorry you guys. And now you'll see them even better. There we go.
We go.
Oh.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Now,
Go ahead, Mom.
okay. This first portrait is called Anne and Katie in the Glen of the Chautauqua Institution. Like all the paintings I'll be discussing tonight, it's painted in acrylic paint on a fabric canvas. It's 20 inches high by 26 inches wide and was completed in 1993. Mimi, you're going to have to start reading.
Okay. are you
Mimi and
sure?
I are going to take turns because I have a voice problem.
Okay. This is the last picture I painted from the grounds of the Chautauqua Institution after many years of attending its art school and painting models, still lifes, and the scenes around me. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Good. Anne is the daughter of a dear Chautauqua friend and artist. I decided to paint the scene based on a photo I took of Anne and Katie because I love the whole composition, which I added to as I worked. In this painting, I was influenced by the many pictures of mothers with children painted by the American Impressionist Mary Cassatt that I admired. Anne shows the same care and loving toward her young daughter, Katie, that the mothers in Cassatt's paintings do toward their children. And Katie, like some of the children in Cassatt's paintings, is focused on the interesting world around her, safely protected from any mishaps by her mother. Keep going. While Anne and Katie are the painting's focal point, the canvas is full of the nature around them. Pine trees, rhododendrons, a pink flowering bush, lighter green foliage, as well as a beautiful painted park bench, stone stairs, and bits of porch railings visible in the upper right. The glen offers them a woodsy, luxurious green bit of privacy, right in the midst of the busy Chautauqua grounds.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Hold it.
Mhm. The second painting is a portrait of my son called Andrew at 11. It's considerably larger than the painting of Anne and Katie, 4 feet tall by 3 feet wide. I had first painted Andrew in my home studio in our house on Shaker Boulevard. He stood with one hand on his hip, the other resting on a table. He wore blue jeans, a blue shirt, and bangs, his 1970s style hair, long but neat, covering his ears. His tennis shoes were untied. He posed patiently, looking bored. I filled the background with vaguely swished around paint that I was never happy with. I didn't know what to do with it. Finally, I put the whole painting aside and forgot about it. Decades later, I had and still have the good fortune to share an art studio near downtown Cleveland. Mimi is going to continue.
Okay. You're downtown.
Cleveland.
With my friend and fellow artist, Bonnie Dolan, far from all the distractions of a home studio. The downtown studio offers northern light, white walls, and vast windows overlooking a sixth floor view of Lake Erie. While searching the studio stacks 6 years ago, I was thrilled to discover the large portrait of Andrew at 11 that I had abandoned. Andrew was now over 50, the father of 4, husband to his second wife, Kendra Collins, accomplished in his field of finance, and in all ways a fine human being. I still didn't know how to fix that painting, but then I noticed a never read volume on my shelf of painting books, How to Make a Painting. The first chapter was titled Balance. Aha, balance. Now the little gray cells, as Hercule Poirot liked to say, began to percolate. The picture spoke to me, telling me what to do next as I returned to the studio every day to paint in a new background. Inspired and confident, I proceeded to paint the studio windows with their metal frames, catching bits of light out of an exquisite blue sky. A flowered cloth and paintbrushes and a soup can on the table balanced the weight and curve of Andrew's figure. An electric wall socket anchored the background. 2 light purple shadows connected his tennis shoes to the floor. Inspired by the spare background and serene atmosphere of my downtown studio, in a couple of weeks, the painting was complete after it had languished for 40 years.
The third painting is Hannah at Passover, another large acrylic that is 4 feet tall by 5 feet wide, set in the dining room of my current home near Shaker Square. The colors throughout the picture speak of spring, including bright yellow daffodils, green vegetables on the plates, and pearly eggs. They all remind me of new growth and hope. In many ways, the painting is like a play, and all the elements are like characters contributing to its totality.
Sure.
Hannah,
my granddaughter, has just stopped running for a moment and with a puckish expression looks expectantly at the white cloth table, which has been formally arrayed for the feast to come. Her red dress echoes the color of crimson horseradish in the white fluted bowl. Silver candlesticks, once used every Friday by my mother, reflect all the colors around them. Square baked matzos and woven brown baskets add texture. Through sparkling clean windows, warm early evening light casts soft shadows on the woodwork and tablecloth and filters through the glass in the shapely pitcher. Tall, formal cane chairs both define her small size and represent the adult guardians who will soon join her at the table. Completed in 2000, Hannah at Passover has precedence in works where family members and even a begging dog are seated around a table scattered with the remains of a meal. Such scenes were used by the French artist Edward Bouillard, a painting called The Bouillard Family at Lunch from 1896, and Pierre Bonnard, La Table, 1925, and The Luncheon, 1932. They, in turn, influenced the American painter and art critic Fairfield Porter. The painting of Porter's baby daughter sitting in a high chair, Lizzie at the table, was shown at the Cleveland Museum of Art and reverberated in my mind for years. I believe it sparked the recognition of a great moment to capture and paint when Hannah paused by the table before the family Seder.
Okay. This next painting is called The Gift, Katie and Sammy. It's in the living room of the same apartment as the painting of Hannah we just saw. And this painting is also 4 feet tall by 5 feet wide. This painting is my first and only evening interior. Outside the window, all is black. 2 glass lamps with shades are turned on behind her. Katie sits on the couch holding a small potted plant with orange flowers, her play clothes striped with the same orange color. Her clothes are casual.
Her clothes are casual and comfortable with no shoes. The green couch is part of a whole party of playful colors throughout the painting, all much brighter than my living room colors in real life. I'd like to share my journal entry from the evening I completed the painting on April 26, 2016. Today, I experienced a quiet but joyful feeling of accomplishment. Katie's portrait is my first and only evening interior. There have been problems to overcome, but in the final hours, each difficulty was resolved, and it all came to an exciting conclusion. The colors are subdued or brilliant. The design is fresh, and Katie looks directly at me with a lovely smile. With his gray, black, and white schnauzer coat, Sammy sits right in the middle of the couch, looking inscrutable. The final touch, the color of the cloth on the red chest in the foreground, is a gold pigment which actually glistens. It is fun, it is night, and the orange flowers Katie holds in the pot on her lap cast warm highlights on her young, pretty face. The entire composition is exquisite.
If I say so myself.
Wait, I have to find the next essay. Okay, you got it. All right. Oh, wait, Mom. We have a little detail of Sammy here that we thought people might like. Do you want to say something about it?
Well, as I recollect, there's a real possibility that underneath everything that the little girl is holding, underneath there is a box of chocolates. And I think that Sammy is more interested in those chocolates that he can smell than anything else that's going on.
Anyhow, we'll go on to the next one.
Okay. This painting is a huge diptych I finished in 1993 called Winter Walk, 4 feet high by 12 feet wide. In the painting, my husband Leon and our friends are walking with our black poodle Charlie in the woods near the back of our property. It is a wintry snow scene, which reminds me of paintings from the past of villages with country folk, some high above, others busy down below.
A walk in our winter woods was almost magical. There was a path upwards to follow where fallen dark brown tree trunks had been cut up, with some logs carted away to be fuel and others left to shelter animals. The path was quiet with a beautiful white stillness, a stillness when no turkeys were about and the deer were hiding somewhere else. Far up the hill was a makeshift log bench where one could sit, look out, and see down to the winding Chautauqua Gorge. Our black standard poodle Charlie might bark at a squirrel, and one might be reminded of a walk in the woods of West Virginia.
Got that, Joe?
In case you don't know, my mom is from West Virginia.
Okay. This is my latest painting, just completed in 2020. It's a painting of my youngest granddaughters who live in Manhattan. It's called Elise and Jojo on Park Avenue with Tulips. The painting is 36 inches high and 45 inches wide. The small photo that inspired this painting arrived by mail sent by my daughter-in-law, Kendra, the girl's mother. I fell in love with the whole scene of New York in May, the red tulips, the tall buildings, the tree with dark branches full of red spring flowers, the sunny blue sky, and of course, my two precious granddaughters in their school uniforms with their book bags. I've traveled to New York many times over the years, and this time of year with the tulips blooming on Park Avenue is one of my favorite times to go there.
With a trip to the office store for only a few dollars, I got the photo enlarged to poster size. Since I had stopped going to my studio due to the new COVID restrictions, my daughters, Anne and Mimi, helped convert my back library at home into an art studio. My motivation to finish the painting was expedited by a videographer who had been commissioned to create a short video of me doing my painting and talking about my work. After the initial video he filmed of me painting this canvas, we agreed that he would return to photograph the finished work. Mimi would take pictures of each stage of the painting to send him. I was determined to work on it daily so I could finish it in 2 months. And conveniently, with nowhere to go during quarantine, I had no excuses not to do the work. I first drew the entire scene freehand with charcoal on the large canvas on the easel in my new studio, with a poster of the scene beside me to refer to. Bit by bit, with erasures and corrections, I gradually laid in the scene. I combined the elements in the photo with my imagination to enliven the painting's various parts, like the branches and flowers in the tree, the little cars parked on the street, and the clouds in the sky. The clouds show up better in the actual painting. The hardest part was completing the faces of the girls. In real life, they are each so lovely in their own way. Yet, as tiny figures in the painting, I struggled to get their faces right. Finally, I just did my best to convey each girl's likeness, knowing that they were a part of the larger purpose of the painting. I'm happy to report that the video was completed and can be seen on the website of the Artist Archives. And the painting will be the cover of my next book of art and essays, Gloria Plevin Treasures, which is being designed by our book designer right now. In a year, the painting will go to its new home in my son Andrew's spacious new apartment in New York City. Okay, so we're going to stop the screen share if I can figure out how to do it, and answer questions. But you can start asking questions while I figure this out. I'll see if I can figure it out. I think I have to.
There you go.
Oh, thank you. All right, so let me just
Questions?
let me just get myself out of the keynote so we can see everyone. Great. Hi. Okay.
Maxine has her hand raised. Maxine?
Okay, yep, I've got two questions. One, Gloria, what is your favorite medium and what is your most challenging medium?
Well, the medium that I use throughout all of these paintings is acrylic. And years ago, I went to my first class in a studio in Cleveland Heights. And this teacher taught us how to use acrylics. And he also was very adamant that one had to keep painting it and change the color of the painting because you can cover over in order to get a beautiful picture. And I've just held on to that for the larger paintings. So I like watercolor, I like pastels very much. I don't mind doing some printmaking, but when it comes to these larger ones that are on, what do you call it?
On canvas.
On canvas, I very much like the acrylics. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, and do you find it the most challenging, or of all the mediums you've tried, what do you find the most challenging?
What do I find the most challenging? Oh, I have to think about that. Go on to something else and I'll think about it.
Okay, is there any other questions?
I think my answer would be pastels. I think pastels are difficult and they're messy and they also it's hard to breathe with pastels. I would give pastels. I've done a lot of pastels and you can have beautiful results, but for me, they're the most difficult. I hope that answered the question. Okay. So we're going in.
No, there's going to be
No,
more.
I'll ask the
Hi
question.
there, Eleanor. Eleanor? Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
Eleanor, you have to unmute yourself.
And
Do we have to be in the video?
it's nicer.
Oh, wait. I think
Yeah, Eleanor, go ahead, but you have to unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, now can I talk?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, my question is, in developing a portrait, obviously the person and the situation doesn't last very long. So do you make sketches or make small color studies, or use photographs in the development of complicated portraits. Like the two girls and the city and the trees and so forth. How much other material were you involved with besides just your memory?
Oh dear. Well, those are all acrylics.
It was from a photo. It was all from one photo.
It was a photo that I had made into a big poster. And so I just played with it until I got exactly what I wanted. But see, you can let it dry and then you can cover it up with something else.
But I think what she's asking, Mom, is
What is it?
when you're painting a complicated picture, you're working from photos quite often, right? Unless it's a still life.
Sometimes, but you were mentioning people, right? You
Right.
wanted to know about portraits. I often take photographs of people because it takes a long time for me to do it, especially if they're adult friends. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't go well.
Yes,
Right.
portraits are complicated.
I think for me, I love the finished product of pastels, but I also, as you can hear, I have a breathing problem, and pastels are a problem for me because they're very dusty.
But she's
Yes,
asking
right.
about the process from what you're working from.
Well, I mean, I'm just mentioning different things that are a problem for me.
Mhm, mhm.
I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, well, I was just asking a question about your working process about portraits, because I do some myself and wonder how you do them. And, I use photos and I use
I have
sketches,
to
I use
say-
all those kind of things.
I have to say that having a photograph, or several photographs is very helpful
Yes,
for
I agree.
portraits, especially of adults.
Right.
But I don't do many portraits. I really don't.
You do the mostly of your intimate relationships with your family and so forth.
Yeah, like that, right.
So you already know
I'm
them.
very proud of the portraits that I've done, but it's very difficult for me. So
They're difficult. Portraits are difficult. I agree with you there.
difficult.
And then you have to please somebody in the process.
Yeah, very, very hard.
But your portraits are beautiful, especially the young girl. There was one with the young girl at the table who fled by. I guess you must have snapped her picture when she was just standing there quickly. And the table and chairs is so overwhelming for this young girl. It's charming that way. Did you find?
The photograph helped a lot.
Oh, the photograph was like that? Yeah, well, anyway. But
as a
it had a magic to it to have the table so overwhelming. It meant so much, for the holiday and everything.
I think, did you have a question, Julie and Lewis? Did you have a question?
Hey, Julie.
Could you unmute?
Yes, just now. I am amazed by all of your paintings, but what really shocked me was the caning on the chairs in the Passover table, at the Passover table painting. The caning of the chairs.
Yeah.
How long did it take you?
A long time. It was very boring.
Oh,
but necessary,
Well, it just
had to be done. That's all. Just had to be done.
unbelievable, unreal that you could do that.
But boring.
Well, a bit boring, yeah.
Hi, Audrey. Audrey, hi.
You're muted still.
Okay, I don't have a question, but I just want to comment on the composition and color, because I do photography. And
Okay.
the color, I mean, the colors and the compositions are just the way the elements are kind of weighted and where your eye goes. I mean, it's just, I'm just totally in love with what you do. So I just wanted to point out the one, the quality, which of course,
Well, I love to hear, but I love to hear you say it. Anybody else? Joe Malone, where did you?
Gloria, can you see me?
No, oh, there you are. You moved.
I haven't moved a bit.
Okay.
I have a couple of comments. I don't have a question. I love the paintings. My favorite was the winter time, the walk in the woods. Reminded me of Robert Frost's poem, Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Night.
That's right.
It just, and I think in my mind, I have seen that scene. Now, I haven't been to Chautauqua during the winter, but I have been behind your house and looked up the hill toward that. And it was very, very nice to see. The comment that I might have that occurred to me, and I realized why you focused on these paintings and the family, is that when Mimi mentioned earlier, or not Mimi, the fellow whose name I don't know mentioned that it would be the last show unless somebody volunteers. I think you could make a session like this out of your botanicals. And you know very well that I am a huge fan of your botanicals. I think have seen a picture. I've got a wall in my cottage at Lake Floyd that's called the Plevin Wall. And it's all of the botanicals you've ever painted put on a wall.
Shall I tell these folks that you've been my friend since we were 5 years old?
Yes, and we are well beyond that at this point. But I just think your botanicals are wonderful, and I think Mimi, you could probably put together an additional segment.
Well, we'll see if we're invited. We don't want to hog the whole thing. But thank
botanicals, just for the botanicals alone. Enough. Nice
Mom,
to see you, Gloria. Hello from California.
Thank you.
Mom
Thanks,
just
Jan.
had a whole solo exhibit of her botanicals here that just came down like a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I think. So thank you.
Okay. Oh, hello.
I had a question, if you got one more minute. I wanted to ask about your development in terms of your art, like when you were in high school and you were maybe taking a painting class or something, did you know then that this is something you have a talent for? And, or at what point did you begin to go from I like to paint to I feel like I'm an artist? How did that happen?
Well, my friend Joe and I went to what do you call it? Grade school.
Yeah.
We went to a grade school that had very good West Virginia teachers. And right away, they were very kind to me because I was left-handed and talented in art. And so they made me sit by a certain window so the light would be good. And, every now and then I would make a painting and they stuck it by the front door. I mean, I had so much encouragement along the way, but I didn't take it seriously until well after I was married and needed something that was really mine.
Oh.
After having 4 children.
Wow.
Well, she had a detour of going into merchandising and working for a department store until like the day before she had me.
Well, I went into retailing because I wanted to be able to support myself. But before I left the store to have my baby, a woman who was a buyer in another department and had been working for this store for years, was fired. She had 2 weeks notice to get out. And I thought, if that's the way the world is out there, I don't want any part of it. That's the way I felt.
Yeah.
Maxine asked in the chat what your training was like as an artist.
It was helter-skelter. I did part-time at night at the Institute. I did some at daytime at another art school. And I went to private lessons by a very fine teacher in his apartment in Cleveland Heights. Lots of other women were doing the same, especially with him. I mean, a lot of what I know came from that first training in that private. But also, I have this is embarrassing, but I have a huge collection of art books. I've gone to a lot of museums. I just participate, but it's learning. You know, I'm still learning. But that's what I love. I love it. What else? Who is this adorable child, Barb Truitt? Who is this little girl here?
That is my granddaughter.
Thank you for asking that. I was going to ask that.
That is my granddaughter.
Yeah.
Taken this morning. She lives near Tel Aviv.
Oh,
Her name is Rain.
oh, God bless her. It should just be peaceful there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if,
I love being with you. Thanks for the questions.
yeah,
If
Thank
you
you
have
so
anything on
much.
your mind, you know, give me a call or something.
Erwin, you got another question?
Erwin.
Unmute, please.
Unmute, Erwin.
My grandson's making fun of me because I'm technologically challenged sometimes. I just want to say that I always loved Gloria's art. I would see it from time to time, just in different places it would pop up. And then after I joined Kol HaLev, I met Gloria, and I couldn't believe that she was a member of our synagogue, and then we ended up, I was in the same building for a while that she was in, at the Art Craft building, and got to know her better there, along with her daughter as well.
And I was your admirer.
Well, thank you. But I have such an affinity with her art because we're both lovers of the artist Fairfield Porter. And I knew that when I saw her work, that I could see, Fairfield Porter in the work. And, I just find her paintings to be so fresh and vibrant, and they're ambitious paintings. And sometimes these kind of paintings can look kind of simple, but they're definitely not, because everything is in balance and harmonious. And you're my role model. And I hope at some point that, I can do what you're doing. It's just, it's really incredible. And just wanted to express that just how much I admire you.
And it's vice versa.
Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. Good luck to you.
So I think we should allow some time for Mimi to have her say. So let's introduce Mimi, who will perform some poems that she's written that speak truth to power, explore the lovely wackiness of life, and tell individual stories of courage and grace. Mimi is the winner of the Gordon Square Review inaugural poetry contest, and her poems and articles can be found in Carve Magazine, LearnVest/Forbes.com, Ford's Journal, POZ Magazine, Two Cities Review, and many other journals. Over her career, she has also been a poet, a glass artist, a screenwriter, and filmmaker with an MFA in dramatic writing from NYU. It's unfair how much talent is in that one family. Mimi has created Poetry RX, which offers poems in prescription vials. It's a clever idea. As medicine for the soul. Warning may cause feelings of joy. Mimi, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. It's just great to see you all. Thank you so much. I'm just going to pull up my poems that I brought, and I was really trying to focus on newer poems because I know some people here have heard some of my poems before. I am just having to find them because here they are, because my mom has a Mac and I don't really always know how to use it. But first I'm going to do a tiny little bit of screen sharing because I want you to see one picture, and then I'm going to stop the screen sharing, and there it is. Can you see it? This is a cabbage from my garden from last year. It was massive. I mean, I think it was 4 feet across, and it just grew and grew and grew. And I don't think we harvested it until October or maybe even November, because it just seemed to keep growing. And anyhow, it was so amazing. I had to write a poem about it. And now I'll share that poem. Just one moment. So it's called Mother of Cabbages. From our garden, I have wrested the czarina of cabbages, cabbage, ancient food of my people, nestling her densely wrapped secrets within giant green wings, bringer of slaws, fermenter of krauts, juice-filled wrapper of rice and meats. Who will nourish our families through dark Russian Decembers? Mother Cabbage. Oh dear. You know what? I have opened up a document I brought over yesterday, and I have new poems in a new document. So please, if you don't mind giving me a moment, I just have to locate that new document that I just downloaded here. I'm sorry. Let's see if I can find it. Oh boy. Okay, I know that it's here because I downloaded it. Oh boy, I'm so sorry, guys. I may have to just download it again. Okay. All right. Talk amongst yourselves. It'll just take me 1 second to do this. And here it is. I'm going to save it to the desktop. All righty. I should be able to find it now. Okay, good. All right, I'm so sorry, but this is the right document, and now I can keep reading. I was very honored to be asked this year to participate in an anthology that was poems about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So I set to work to write a poem for it. and it's going to be published hopefully within a few months. And it's called Dayenu for RBG. And I encourage everyone, there will be a chorus that is always the same, that you can participate in that chorus with each verse. If she had been the first person elected to both Columbia and Harvard Law Reviews and not co-founded the first journal on women's legal rights, Dayenu, it would have been enough. If she had become Columbia Law School's first tenured female and not fought for fair protections for the school's maids and won, Dayenu, it would have been enough. If she had co-founded the Women's Rights Project at ACLU after no firm would hire her because of her sex, and not devised a plan to set precedents for women by winning new rights for men, Dayenu, it would have been enough. If she had launched her campaign to demolish gender roles across a nation, case by case and beam by beam, and had not drawn in 9 male justices as her unwitting demo team, Dayenu, it would have been enough. If she had pushed Congress to outlaw anti-pregnancy bias on the job, which they did, and not urge them to help people sue for equal pay, which they did, Dayenu, it would have been enough. If she had become the second female Supreme Court justice and first female Jewish justice, and not expanded legal rights for millions, Dayenu, it would have been enough. If she had defended a woman's freedom to choose, if and when to bear a child, and not explain the equal rights that choice preserves, Dayenu, it would have been enough. If she had become the first Supreme Court justice to conduct a same-sex wedding and not struck down laws blocking gay marriage, Dayenu, it would have been enough. If she had defended workers, voters, and women's rights by crafting piercing dissents to light a path toward justice, and not read each aloud from the bench, girded by the dissent Javit, her battle dress, Dayenu, it would have been enough. If she had taught us how to envision a world where laws give every human equal worth, and not shown us how to fight year after year, despite cancers and fractures and loss, to make that world our home, Dayenu, it would have been enough.
Did she really have a dissent?
Yes, she did.
She wore
She sure did.
different.
Yeah, she did. It's you can buy it. It's all over the internet. You can find it, and people have made them, and you can buy it. And it looks a little like chainmail. I think it's silver. I wrote a few poems, especially in the first few months of the pandemic. I had more time to write poetry, and so I called the whole collection Inventory for Living, Pandemic Poems, and I'm just going to read a very few of them. The first one is called Shed Aquarium, which most people know is in Chicago. I believe it's in Chicago. Webbed feet smacking, penguins hop happily down blue stairs in Chicago, waddle the vast terrain between glass walls to stare at circling sharks with wonder, silky tuxes gleaming. A dog streaks out the door across the yard and launches herself deep into a mountain of leaves, a joyful cannonball, over and over and over again. These are the verses of solace we offer, our wafers of communion. The next poem is called The First Friend Hit. First, weeks of building dread, like watching a train full of friends chug straight toward a cliff as bridge builders dash about, pleading for girders. The front cars with the VIPs start to drop. I find out my first friend has gotten sick. Not just sick, but very sick. Not replying to texts or calls. Yes, it's happening to the people I know. At last, a text from another friend. She's getting better, but exhausted, in bed, short of breath. I flash on that video of the doctor saying, "Go to the hospital if you have shortness of breath." Instantly, I transform into an amateur doctor, wanting to scream across the country, "Go to the hospital, make them take you now." But I don't just want to become her doctor. I want to be Superman, turning the earth back in time, reversing the train before it reaches the cliff, rolling it back to its track in the station, back to before it opens its doors, to let the first unwitting passenger board. Okay, just a sec. 1 second, please. I've got to refine this thing. So sorry. I think it's right here.
That was a very moving poem.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next one is called Never Enough, for the pandemic profiteers. How does it start? With hunger, holes in boots, watching a parent work day and night with never enough to buy food and pay rent? But what of the children with new clothes, full bellies, shining schools, quiet cars? What hole in the heart leaves them feeling there's never enough? What twists a boy into a creature who will ask souls sliding down a cliff for their credit card before he lowers the rope? This last one I'll read about the pandemic is called My Pandemic Birthday. We woke to thick flakes of snow in April. This afternoon, hail. In between, I meet my dear friend since high school at the cemetery. We walk 6 or more feet apart, my winter scarf swathing my face, careful not to breathe near the other. Under the briefly blue sky, across 2 hills, 100,000 flowers beam, unmasked. Eventually, we will all end up in the ground. But until then, we have daffodils. The next poem I'm going to read is relevant to me today because I've been taking a really amazing online alternative economics class about all the different alternative models of economics that are happening actually around the world, or that people are devising and trying out in different cities and states. And it's really fascinating. And I learned about something called donut economics, which is not about donuts, but you should Google it because it's really fascinating to read about. And I'm happy to talk to anyone about it afterward if they're interested. So this poem is called Just Won't Die. And it's also was inspired by my shamrock plant. That's what got me writing this. Just won't die. The 10-year-old shamrock plant, after weeks with no leaves, sprouting a pale green meadow in time for St. Patrick's Day, just won't die. The scared little cockapoo, trapped in a puppy mill cage since birth, now giving cuddles in nursing homes and schools, just won't die. The girl tattooed with a barcode by her pimp, whipped if she did not turn in 1,000 a night, now rescuing other girls from the street, just won't die. The men pulled from collapsed factories in Bangladesh that buried mothers, sisters, and wives, now fighting to win a better life for daughters and sons, just won't die. The idea that everyone gets a seat at the table, that everyone who prepares the meal gets to eat, that as surely as the earth turns green in the spring, we can rebirth our planet from this winter of greed, just won't die. We will outgrow, outlove, outfox, outlast anyone who tries to cage us. We just won't die. My next poem is one of my Poetry RX poems, and I'll see if I can try to get it close enough to the camera so you can see the Poetry RX. These are these little pharmacy vials that I ordered from Amazon, and they say things like, Poetica Medicina, not generic, read as needed. Warning, for mental consumption only, may cause feelings of joy. Unlimited reads, and let's see, caution. Transfer of this poem to any person other than patient for whom prescribed may result in a positive interaction. All right, so you get to have the fun of popping it, and then when you pull it out, there's a little poem with pictures. So this is the poem that I'm going to read now, called Overwintered Leeks. And I don't know if you could see the pictures of the overwintered leeks right here. And there's the one with all its blossoms. Overwintered leeks. If the modest leek, friend to potatoes and eggs, can survive months of snow and icy wind, to push up Turkish spires that burst into globes of exuberant buds, isn't it also possible that we can too? The next poem I'll read is one that some people may have heard, but I think it's so appropriate to the season, I'm going to read it anyhow. It's short, and it's called May Comes to Cleveland. At last, skinny trees bring out their party dresses, a dazzling parade of magenta, white, and apple green. It's prom week, and every blossom tree in town is reaching out to ask me for the next dance. So the next poem I wrote, I don't know, I think it was within the past year. And after a lot of the demonstrations about anti-racism and anti-police brutality, I did a lot of reading on different things. And so, and this is actually based on actual fact. So it's called The Invention of Racism. Did you know racism was invented in 1453? I mean, anti-Black racism. King Afonso V of Portugal paid Gomes do Ferreira to write the Chronicle of the Discovery and Conquest of Guinea to justify the concept of the many enslavers around Europe. These two were the first to claim they kidnapped and sold Africans to save their souls and improve their wretched lives. The book was passed through all the royal courts to spread its ideas like smallpox across continents. Before that, for as long as humans had walked the land and sailed the seas, travelers saw and wrote that people were many colors and all were equally interesting and lovely and smart and good. I don't need to tell you all the cruel acts that followed. Just this: if two slave trading liars invented racism in 1453, then we can end it The next poem I'm going to read is a little bit of a longer poem. It's one that I wrote inspired by the theme of what is a promised land when I was chosen as a fellow by the Jewish Arts and Culture Lab. And, you know, it's exploring issues about promised lands, about traveling. For me, when I travel, I have issues about packing. And so this poem is called What Would You Pack? And you'll see. But when he left home for a mysterious destination, propelled by a fantastical offer, promised by an invisible God, they say Abram took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all their accumulated goods, and all the people they had acquired, servants, slaves, converts, to set out for the land of Canaan. Unseen, they carried emblazoned badges of courage, generosity, and faith, like passports through checkpoints for unknown gods and terrains. When they escaped slavery in Egypt, Moses, Miriam, and the Jews brought articles of gold and silver, clothing, flocks and herds, copper mirrors, timbrels, and a lot of unleavened bread. Unseen, they wore threads of hope laced by threads of terror, woven through every garment on their backs, not knowing where they were headed, only that they had to escape. Tell me, where was your promised land? What would you pack? When Southern slaves slipped away from plantations toward freedom, they sometimes dressed as laborers, carried tools, and sallied down main streets as if going to work, strolling past vaults of vulturous catchers. Unseen, they carried the tools of ingenuity, grit, and sheer nerve in a toolbox marked dignity or death. When 600,000 Middle Eastern and North African Jews fled or emigrated to Israeli tent camps from homelands known for 2,000 years, they often arrived with only the tunics they wore and their lives. Unseen, each family smuggled a spice box, fragrant, with their own mix of culture, language, ritual, and pride. What tools would you bring to your promised land? What spices would you smuggle? When Syrians left war-racked houses, then Turkish tents, then overcrowded rubber boats, their homes compacted into a single bag. Omran, 6 years old, brought marshmallows, a tin of sweet cream, bandages, toothbrush, one shirt, a pair of pants, a syringe. Iqbal, 17, brought a comb, 2 phones, SIM cards, hair gel, face whitening cream. Noor, 20, an artist, left behind his clothes, but kept his gifts from friends, a guitar pick, a rosary, silver bracelets, a charm, a flag. Aboessa, traveling with baby Dua, carried Dua's vaccination chart and medicine, sunscreen and baby hat, sterile water, 1 jar baby food, a yellow headband. Unseen, each carried a personal hologram of a new life in a safe, normal world. If you could bring only 1 bag to your promised land, what would you pack? When I travel anywhere, I struggle with what and how much to bring. Clothes, pillows, toiletries, water and snacks, music, books and magazines, writing, phone charger, iced tea, more snacks, until the car overflows and my family revolts. Unseen, I carry the earworm of an old melody, the song of a people forced to leave home time and again over thousands of years, warning of danger, discomfort, hunger, the unknown. Tell me, do you hear the melody of hope or the earworm of fear when you pack? When Voyager 1 and 2 launched from Cape Canaveral, each craft carried a planetary radio, cameras, measuring instruments, and humanity's message in a bottle, a golden record containing scenes from Earth, dolphins, an eagle, a cut open seashell, people hunting, eating, dancing, riding elephants, and walking in space. Greetings from Earth in 59 languages. Music from Earth, including Beethoven's Fifth, Pygmy and Aboriginal songs, Peruvian panpipes, Chuck Berry singing Johnny Be Good. Sounds from Earth, volcanoes and thunder, surf and wind, crickets, laughter, a heartbeat, a kiss. Thoughts from Earth, a newly engaged young author's brainwaves popping like a string of firecrackers as she thinks about the wonder of love. No images of violence, no sounds of anguish. Unseen, the records carry our wish for humans' perfected story, to be retold around campfires across the cosmic ocean, on planets yet unborn. When each soul launches from a comfortable, loving home, propelled by a fantastical offer promised by an invisible God, we are born bundled up in cuteness and charm, knowing that we deserve everyone's attention and complete respect, able to connect deeply and easily with every human. Unseen, we carry our own golden record, etched with the strengths, struggles, and yearning of 1,000 journeys, recording new songs and stories as we pilot our travels through space and time. What is your promised land, Spirit Voyager? What have you packed? Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, that was really moving and extraordinary, really. You're quite a reader of your own poems, my goodness.
Thank you.
Yes. It was for me, I'll just say it was insightful because I can't claim to be a big poetry fan, but I could hear where every poem that you read came from and where the thoughts came from, as opposed to putting pretty words down or putting clever words and stuff like that. I could feel the connection to you, and that really was moving.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that.
That was so powerful and so accessible.
Yeah.
Really extraordinary. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
both.
you.
There were so many metaphors, like the daffodils, the blooming flowers that were unmasked, and the blossoming trees. I've read that poem before, as the prom dress, like they're all just, that's a lovely one. But also, just in the last one, the idea of campfires around a sea made of space, and these would be the stories we'd want to tell. They were great things to keep with me and remember later. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Has the RBG poem been published?
Not yet.
It's a work in progress.
Oh, no, it's done. And the people who are putting together and publishing the anthology have it, but they decided to shop around for a different publisher than the one they planned. So it's not in print yet. So I don't think I can publish it elsewhere because they're, I wrote it for them.
Very good. It's very good. Very powerful.
It was really fun to research her life, and it was hard to condense down the unbelievable amount of achievements that she did. I mean, it was staggering how much she did in one life, and so admirable.
Tell them this gorgeous show we have.
Oh, yes, and and if you can get to the Maltz Museum to see the show about her right now, that's I haven't seen it yet, but I'm with someone who just saw it and thought it was amazing.
Stunning.
Steve.
Yeah, just on that point, I believe there's some conversation going on at our adult education, and Alan can confirm this. I think that maybe we'll try to set up a community virtual tour of that exhibit. So that would be wonderful. And really loved every poem that you read tonight, Mimi, and I echo already the appreciations that other people shared with you about the way that you read your own writing and the accessibility and the poignancy that's all wrapped together. I wanted to ask, is there a moment that you can identify? I guess 2 moments I'm interested in. One is when you realized that you loved hearing poetry, and when you realized that you loved writing poetry?
Well, that's a great question. I just remember that I was in second grade in Miss Richmond's class at Lomont School. We were supposed to write poems, and she put them in a little booklet. And so I wrote poems for that, and I just was proud of my poems, and people seemed to think they were good. And then in 5th grade, I had Mrs. Ittner, a teacher who also really, really liked my poems and published a little book of poems. And she liked my poems so much, she sent them to the editor of Miracles, which was a book of children's poetry from around the English-speaking world. But he did not accept them. But I still was very, I think it made a big impression on me that she liked my poems so much that she did that. And it's a great question about remembering poems. One of the things that I loved the most, that I remember the earliest, was Dr. Seuss. And the first book that I learned to read, and I actually memorized it and pretended I knew how to read it, was Hop on Pop, because it's full of rhymes, and they're like super fun rhymes. So in a way, I think that probably Dr. Seuss and Hop on Pop might have been my earliest. I don't know, that might be one of the banned books now, but I don't remember anything bad about it. It's a great question, because I'm not sure that there were, I just remember that I liked writing poems. I think that was the main thing.
Thank
Who
you.
are your favorites now? Who are your favorite
Oh
poets?
gosh. I'm kind of like, I like a lot of kind of mainstream poets. I mean, I really have a bias toward wanting to read poems that I can understand. And I hate poems that are deliberately difficult and private. It just does not grab me. But I love Mary Oliver. I really, really love Mary Oliver's work. And I mean, oh gosh, what's his name? The most popular poet in America who makes so much money being a poet. It will come to me, Billy Oliver. I think is it Billy Oliver? No, not Billy Oliver, Billy, someone tell me. Anyhow, he's very famous, and his poems he has a lot of very funny poems.
Bill Collins.
Yes, Billy Collins, yes. And I love their work. I like a lot of spoken word poets. Who else? I mean, I think Claudia Rankine, her book Citizen is something everyone should have to read. I really loved Amanda Gorman's work, that she performed at the inauguration. I think that was a stunning poem that just captured the moment and what had just been happening. Yeah. I mean, that was an amazing thing to see. So there's a lot of other ones that I'm forgetting right now, but a variety. I love the Song of Songs, the good translations of the Song of Songs. I have friends who translated it in a book called A Book of Women Poets from Antiquity to Now. And So, there's poetry everywhere, whether it means to be poetry or not. I mean, the poetry that I think most of us know is song lyrics. And, song lyrics, and just think how much certain song lyrics stick with you, how much they mean to you. And, that's poetry too.
One day cleaning up from Kiddush, I can't remember what it was. I can't remember what made me so depressed, but I was talking to somebody and Mimi was in the kitchen and she said, hang on a minute, I have something for you. And she walked back in with Poetry RX and she said, look, and it popped it open and a poem jumped out and it was really lovely. I think that's a great idea.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have to figure out how to sell it online or something through Etsy. I have to figure out how to package these little vials. So if anyone knows anything about that, let me know.
Have you ever submitted a poem to the Sun?
I haven't sent out to them, and I do send my work out, but nowhere near often enough and not to enough places. And it is, that would be a great place to send stuff to.
Yeah, because they do, put some politically oriented or, kind of like societal relevant poems, as well as, more just, pretty words too.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Yes, Rob.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for your work and reading it and everything. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
I have what's going to sound like a silly question though. It's like, how do you do that? I mean, and like, I'll give you a specific example. It's like when you were comparing what people pack and what is seen, and then what is not seen. Mm-hmm. And that becomes kind of a theme through that poem. Is that just a blinding inspiration, or like what's your, do you have a process that makes that and creates it and makes it happen?
That poem was unusual. That I was I was selected to be a fellow for this group, the Jewish Arts and Culture Lab, which is something that is an amazing project. Every year they select like 15 or 20 fellows. The year I did it, it was people in Cleveland, but then they also had people in Beit Shan, and they had people, I think, somewhere in Europe, Russia, in Russia too. And everybody was artists from every different type of medium. And we were studying the themes of homeland and promised land and doing a lot of reading, a lot of research. So I was learning so much. And there was, scheduled to be a presentation and an art show at the end. So I had lots and lots of time to write that poem and research all those different things that I wrote about, which was fascinating. And I can't tell you how I came up with that particular thing. But I will say that one really fun way to write poems, and a lot of my poems actually have started this way, is my friend and I from college started playing something called the poetry game. And anyone can do this who decides to sit down with another friend or a few friends in Zoom or in person. And you just go back and forth and say whatever word pops into your head, and you write them all down. And I will try, now that I've played it a lot, to pick words that go with maybe an idea that I know I want to write a poem about, or words that are sort of delicious sounding. I'll try to pick interesting verbs and stuff. And then you just sit there together and don't talk and write for a period of time, whether it's 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour, whatever, and you use some of the words. You don't even have to use all the words, but it gets you to write a poem. And then you've got a poem that you can, or start it or whatever, that you can then keep rewriting and keep making better. And it's really fun. And I've gotten really good poems that way. So I suggest doing that. But I can tell you that sometimes things will just kind of come to me where something just seems really interesting, or something is kind of worrying me where I can't figure it out. If I can't figure it out and it's really bothering me, then I think, I know I need to write a poem about this, because it's going to help me, figure it out, or just something that's really beautiful and I want to write about it. Yes. Go.
Peter.
Yeah, maybe let me follow up on Rob's question. So
Okay.
when you wrote that poem,
Mhm.
was the juxtaposition of the seen and the unseen, was that your theme at the beginning, or did that develop as you began to write?
I mean, it developed pretty fast as I began to write, because once I must have gotten it right near the beginning and, decided to carry it through. But I cannot remember the exact moment when it came to me.
But you didn't have it and map the poem out. You didn't have it first and map the poem out.
No, but once I saw that there was a little pattern, I wanted to keep the pattern. And I think that it's also, whenever we travel or try to go to a promised land, we've always got the unseen baggage coming with us.
It's a huge message. Just the poem, I think, even speaks, I mean, as a reader, the poem even speaks. It's going to speak differently to different people, I guess, but it speaks much deeper and broader to me too.
Thank you. And I also wrote that poem with the idea that I knew I would be performing it. And so I was trying to write something that would be, interactive. And also I made it as a visual poem on a great big board. That was really fun because, there was an art show. It was part of an art show. And I didn't want people just to walk by my pages on a wall and not really notice them with beautiful art all around. So I put it on a great big colored board that I got from Utrecht's. And I tried to vary the fonts to make them interesting. And I actually got a photo of the golden record and put it on there. And I got a few other little images and put them on there so that people would stop and look at it and read it.
Nice.
So I think Aurelia may have had a question, or Julio, or not.
She was saying goodbye. She's
Oh, okay.
So
All
she said
right.
goodbye. Thank you.
Okay. Alan?
Yeah, I'm listening to you tonight, and it just made me understand something about my own feelings about poetry, because I realized how important the performance is. I don't read a lot of poetry myself, but I have always loved listening to poetry from my college days. And then when the Poetry Slam movement came about, I really enjoyed listening to the artists perform, and you do such a wonderful job that it made me realize how much I really do like listening to poetry and how few opportunities there are. So thank you so much for doing that.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And I think spoken word is an amazing thing because it sort of has brought poetry back to a lot more people, especially young people. And the performance is so critical. But I mean, throughout history, poetry was performed. It wasn't read. It was either part of music or it was part of theater. So, hopefully it needs to sound good.
Thank you.
So,
Alan.
yeah, Mimi, I was wondering, that game you were talking about?
The poetry game, yeah.
Yeah, is there a way we could do it?
Sure.
How would we do it?
Oh, you mean right now?
Yeah, right now.
I don't know if people want, well, I guess people who wanted to could stay on the call and others could leave. I mean, it's 9 o'clock, so people, I don't know.
It'd be a great idea for a Kol HaLev Creates evening.
Yeah, actually it
we could do
would.
it, but how would it work? Let's say you and I were going to do it, or we were going to include. How would it work? Just out of
Well, I can tell you that I've been doing this. My friend, who I used to play with in college, has had an ongoing poetry game, like at least 3 or 4 times a week since the pandemic started. And she just she convenes a Zoom like at a certain times that she tells everyone about. And we go around and we each contribute words. And then they're all written down in the chat. And then, or we just write them down on a piece of paper. And then we just turn off the cameras and we all sit there and we write. And then afterward, everybody turns on their cameras and shares their poem.
Oh, so
or
it's
whatever they came up with. And so, and then
it's not like that. What is that game called where it has a special name where you somebody says a line and then
Oh, no, it's not. I mean,
It's not
that's
that.
not fun, but
No.
anyhow, so each person creates their own poem, but you know, it's entirely possible two people could create a poem together if they wanted to.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to say thank you to both of you. I hope you can hear.
Sure.
And this was just a wonderful evening, a nice way to round out our series for now. And thanks everybody for coming. And those of you who will be around tomorrow for the Shavuot program, I'll see you then. And so we'll say good night.
Shavuot. Thank you so much. This was really
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you very
We
much.
I think we both loved it. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Both
Thank
of
you
you.
very much. It was a great program. Good night.
It was wonderful.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Take care.
I'll be back in touch with you. Bye-bye.
Bye.